In 2005, 15 of the best food scientists in America were put on the same team and given one job: bake a cookie. These were not amateurs, senior people from Mars, from Kraft, from Nestlé, from Kellogg's, decades of experience in one room pointed at one problem. They lost to a woman working with a small team on the side who won by stealing an idea from a bag of tortilla chips. And this is not a cute story about an underdog. It's a story about a specific, measurable, deeply annoying fact. Past a certain point, adding smart people to a problem makes the answer worse. Not slower, worse. By the end of this, you'll know why the smartest room usually loses, what it's actually losing to, and the one thing you can do about it in your own team on Monday. Let's go to the bake-off. The man running this is Steve Gundrum, who leads a food development company called Matson, and he has a question he can't stop chewing on. Everyone in his industry assumes the best way to invent something is to gather the best people and let them work. Nobody has ever actually tested that, so he decides to test it. He calls it Project Delta. One goal: build a genuinely healthier cookie that still tastes indulgent, not a compromise cookie, a cookie people would actually choose. And he runs it as a race between three completely different ways of working. Team 1 is a pair, two people working shoulder to shoulder, tiny experiments, constant iteration, fast, tight, small. Team 2 is a traditional structure. One strategist named Barb Stuckey plus an execution team, a normal company setup with a clear owner. And Team 3 is the dream team. 15 elite experts from the biggest food companies in the country, collaborating openly, sharing everything, working like open source. On paper, Team 3 is not a fair fight, it's a coronation waiting to happen. At the end, around 300 households taste all three cookies and vote. No experts, just people eating cookies. Here's what happened to the dream team, and it starts exactly the way you'd expect. The ideas were extraordinary: 34 distinct concepts, far more than either other team generated, every kind of expertise the industry had firing at once. And that's where it stopped being an advantage. One strong personality started pushing the cookie somewhere exotic. A more conservative group pushed back toward something safe. Neither side was wrong exactly. Both had real expertise behind them. So the debate didn't resolve, it just continued. And in a group of 15, nobody has to concede because nobody actually owns the outcome. There is always somebody else who might be right. One of them said something afterwards that I think about a lot. 15 is too many. How much real input can any one person have when you're lost in the crowd? That's not a complaint about the process. That's a person describing the exact moment they stopped trying. The cookie they finally produced was, in Gundrum's world, not bad. And not bad is a devastating result because not bad is precisely the middle. It's what you get when 15 strong opinions are averaged instead of chosen between. Final vote: the dream team's cookie, 41%. Barb Stuckey's team, 44%. The pair hurt by a baking error on the day, 14%. So the 15 greatest food minds in America, given the same brief and more resources than anyone, came second. To a normal team with a normal structure. Now, the obvious explanation is that they got unlucky. The real explanation is more useful, and it comes from somewhere much scarier than a cookie. There's an example Gladwell reaches for that has stuck with me. A nuclear facility that ran crisis drills with a team of 85 people. 85 experts, because a nuclear emergency deserves everybody, obviously. The drills went badly, so they cut the team down to 35. They did not get smarter, they deleted 50 experienced people and their total expertise fell off a cliff, and performance went up. Because what those 50 were mostly adding was not knowledge, It was noise, coordination, interruptions, waiting your turn, being talked over, the overhead of simply existing in a room with other people. And here's the part worth writing down: expertise adds up, friction multiplies. Every person you add brings their knowledge once, but they bring a new connection to every other person in the room. 10 people is 45 relationships. 15 people is 105. The knowledge grows in a line, the noise grows in a curve. Which means every group has a point where the curve overtakes the line. Past that point, the next brilliant person you add makes the output worse, and they do it while being genuinely brilliant. Nobody in that dream team failed. That's what makes this so uncomfortable. 15 good people, all doing their job well, produced a result none of them would have accepted alone. So how did the winner actually win? Barb Stuckey was working on something completely unrelated at the same time: tortilla chips. And she noticed something about low-fat chips. The good ones dust intense seasoning on the outside so the flavor hits your tongue instantly and loudly. That first burst is so distracting that your palate never files a complaint about what's missing underneath. That's a tortilla chip fact. It has nothing to do with cookies. Then she asked the question nobody in the room of 15 experts asked: what if a healthy cookie has the same problem and the same solution? So she put large sugar and citric acid crystals on the surface of the cookie. You bite it, you get an immediate sweet-sour burst, and by the time your brain gets around to auditing the texture, it has already decided it likes this. That single lateral jump is the entire margin of victory. And notice what it required: not more expertise, not 15 specialists. It required one person holding two unrelated problems in her head at the same time quietly long enough for them to touch. Gundrum's own postmortem is the sharpest line in this whole story. He said he found it hard to believe none of those 15 experts could have made the same leap if they had been in an environment quiet enough to let them think. They had the knowledge, what they didn't have was the quiet. One bake-off is an anecdote, so let's go to the data because the pattern shows up everywhere someone bothers to measure it. A Harvard researcher named Lee Fleming went through decades of patent records looking at how inventions actually get made. And his findings are almost rude in how directly they contradict the way companies are run. Inventors working alone produce fewer good ideas on average than collaborators. That part is exactly what you'd expect, and it's why companies push everyone to collaborate. But they also produce far more of the extreme ones, both directions: more total garbage and more breakthroughs. Collaboration doesn't just raise the average, it shaves off both tails. The disasters and the miracles come from the same place, and when you smooth out one, you smooth out the other. And these aren't rare exceptions. Since 1975, inventors working alone account for more than 1 in 5 American corporate patents. So here's the trade nobody tells you they are making. Every time an organization adds a review, a committee, a consensus step, a sign-off, it is buying a higher floor and paying for it with a lower ceiling. That's often the right trade. If you're building a bridge, please average the opinions, cap the downside. Nobody wants a visionary bridge. But if you're trying to invent something, you just used a process specifically designed to eliminate the thing you're looking for. The dream team wasn't bad at generating ideas. They generated 34. They were bad at protecting one because every idea unusual enough to win had to survive 14 other experts, and unusual things don't survive committees. That's what committees are for. Okay, your turn. You're probably not baking cookies. But you have been in the meeting, the one with too many people where everyone is competent, nothing is decided, and you leave with a plan that is not bad. So here are 3 things that actually change the outcome, and none of them require you to be senior. 1. Shrink the room, not the project, just the room where the choosing happens. Ideas can come from everybody, decisions cannot. If nobody in the room would be embarrassed to be blamed for the result, the room is too big. 2. Give it an owner, not a manager. An owner, one person whose name is on it, who is allowed to reject good ideas. Because the job isn't collecting good ideas, it's rejecting most of them. 15 people cannot reject anything. Everything survives, and what survives is the average. 3. Protect the quiet. Barb Stuckey's insight didn't arrive in a workshop. It arrived because she was carrying two problems around at once with enough room in her head for them to collide. Your calendar is currently designed to prevent exactly that from ever happening. And if you're the one with the strange idea, understand the actual shape of the risk. Your idea won't get killed because it's wrong. It'll get killed because it's unusual in a room whose entire function is to remove unusual things. That's not a reason to give up. It's a reason to stop bringing it to that room. 15 of the best food scientists in America came second to a woman who was thinking about tortilla chips. Not because they weren't smart enough, because being in that room with 14 other people meant none of them ever got quiet enough to be strange. The smartest room doesn't lose to a smarter room. It loses to one person with a weird idea and enough silence to hear it. I'm figuring this stuff out one uncomfortable idea at a time, and I'd rather do it with you than alone. Stick around if you want to keep pulling these apart. Next time, why the most expensive thing you'll ever buy is the one you already own. See you then.